But it's a great pleasure to have our friends here from Germany and from the community in general. And it's a particular pleasure for me to have my really good personal friend, the Ambassador of Cyprus, who was so gracious to agree to have this event with us. Cyprus and Israel are basically neighbors. We're separated a little by some water, but we're very close, and we're becoming even closer. And it's a really great pleasure to have my good friend, the Ambassador Andreas Hadjichrysanthou, here with us today. I like Andreas in particular because he has a more difficult name to pronounce even than mine. But first of all, I'm not only happy to have this event in this place, but for me, when they talked to me about the whole issue of water, I couldn't have thought of an issue that was really, if we cooperate on issues of water, I guess this is really the bottom line of what I want to say, is that if we cooperate on issues of water, this is a win-win situation and one of the most critical challenges that we face. We faced as a young country in Israel over the years, coming to an area which is not known for its rainfall, and we went through many major phases of dealing with water shortages, and it was really, to a great extent, a national security problem. But it's a great challenge for Israel. It's a even greater challenge for the area in general. And it's now becoming a global challenge and a very important part of the SDPs, the programs. And we're happy to be able to cooperate also with the German government in having this meeting to forward the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the interesting things that I'd say about Israel's experience that I hope we can share with you a bit today is in different areas that we had to develop over the years. And one day, a gentleman by the name of Simcha Blas noticed in Israel that there was a row of trees, and only one tree was blossoming and green and growing very nicely. The rest were not doing so well. And he went and he said, what's going on here? And all of a sudden he realized that there was a pipe in the vicinity of one of the trees that was dripping and leaking water. And thus, the whole issue of drip irrigation was born. And it's become a phenomenon in Israel. It led to the setting up of the company Netafim. We have a couple of representatives of this company from Kibbutz Nitzarim that are with us today. And from this, observing nature, we are talking about something, and if I'm not mistaken, and the water experts here will correct me, something that has saved something like 40% per acre in terms of water when you're trying to use these to grow crops. A very substantial saving of water as opposed to traditional irrigation, and they say even 70% of any given crop is saved by the use of this type of water, not to mention the energy implications, the saving of energy of this whole drip irrigation procedure. And this is something which happened in Israel, and we were happy to develop, and we're also happy to share. Another part of our Israeli experience in the realm of water was the whole issue of seed breeding, and Israel, because of its need to have the right seeds and to be able to develop its agriculture, became, for a small country, a seed breeding giant, and also able to produce seeds that were drought resistant and also enable us to develop agriculture that could flourish in a very arid area. Another issue which we found helped us a lot in terms of preservation of water was preventing water loss in systems, particularly in urban areas, where a lot of you use so much water to systems that are leaking, and actually it was interesting for me to find out that in Jerusalem, my home city, and we're hosting the mayor of Jerusalem, we have one of the most sophisticated high-tech systems of using sensors to find where leaks are in the system that can immediately be mended, and preventing this water loss, because you lose, and I know in some of our neighboring countries, a tremendous amount of water is lost because of faulty leaks and faulty systems in general. Another thing that we try to move and progress in is the whole issue of desalination of water. I think we're now approaching something like 50% of our drinkable water is from seawater that we've converted. And this was through a process that was developed by Sidney Lowe, who again is one of these unsung heroes who developed the reverse osmosis process. And the last thing that we've tried to invest a lot of effort and time in is recycling wastewater. And I'm proud to say that out of our wastewater, there's something like 85% is able to be used again for agriculture, another 10% for use to help and stimulate river flows or to fight fires, which is such a relevant thing at this time, and about 5% go back into the sea. And when it goes back into the sea, we can get it back by desalination. So it's quite an amazing feat for us to, we've had to develop these techniques, and I think it's really these type of meetings, again, if we can expand cooperation and have and develop mechanisms to have, for example, there are ideas of having a sort of setting up an institute that Netafim would also be involved in Israel to develop water cooperation and water preservation, which I think could have a very important international role and an important regional role as well. I think this could be such an incredible win-win situation for everyone, and something that we could not just talk about, well, maybe our grandchildren will enjoy it. It's something that our children will be able to enjoy in a very short period of time. And on that very optimistic note, I'd like to ask His Excellency, the Ambassador of Cyprus, to come and to address you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, allow me first to thank the Ambassador of Israel, my good friend Jeremy, for generously providing his residence as the venue for this joint event. I would also like to thank the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs for taking the initiative to bring us together in a series of events on sustainable development, which will be taking place this week in Berlin. Ladies and gentlemen, SDGs 6, part of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that make up the 2030 Agenda, calls for the need to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Cyprus and Israel are located in the Eastern Mediterranean, which, according to a recent study by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is highly vulnerable to the impact of climate change and classified as one of the global hotspots. The issue of water scarcity and management, as all the targets of the SDG agenda, cannot be tackled by national measures alone. All countries are obliged to consider regional and international initiatives in order to create synergies to address these complex challenges brought about by climate change. It is for this reason that water scarcity and management has become an integral part of a series of trilateral cooperation mechanisms that we established since 2014 with Greece and countries of the region. For instance, at the latest high-level summit between Cyprus President Anastasiadis, Greek Prime Minister Tsipras and the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Beersheba, Israel, a high-level declaration was adopted by which our three countries pledged under inter alia, and I quote, to cooperate in the areas of water resource management, protection and usage of groundwater, exploration, technologies relating to water production and use, water recycling, wastewater treatment, quality requirements and desalination. Furthermore, in the field of environmental protection, the three leaders acknowledge the initiative, the intensive cooperation between their ministries of the environment and at ministerial and professional levels, in particular in the areas of climate change, water and wastewater management, and protection of the marine environment in the Mediterranean. Our three leaders stressed in their declaration that the exchange of information, know-how and best practices is of mutual benefit and could promote and strengthen the sustainable development and economic growth of our countries. I would also like to refer to a national initiative following the International Conference on Climate Change in the Mediterranean and the Middle East, which took place in Cyprus in May 2018. At that conference, the President of Cyprus expressed his vision for our country undertaking an international initiative and to assume a coordinating role in the efforts of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East region to ameliorate climate change and its impacts. The idea behind this initiative is that Cyprus could promote coordination and cooperation between the countries of the region so that an action plan is developed for recording and mitigating climate change impacts on sectors like environment, agriculture, tourism and health. The aim is to develop an inclusive dialogue forum, a platform where national and regional stakeholders can discuss science-based practical solutions to challenges related to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the presentation of our distinguished panel of experts on water scarcity and the ways and means to tackle this regional and global challenge. I hope you enjoy the presentation and our event today, and thank you for coming, and thank you.